your excellence, providing inspiration and education for the entrepreneurs, experience makers and excellent seekers of our industry to take your tourism business and career to a whole new level. And I am your host, Despina Karatius.
Relax.
Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from, live or watching the recording. I am thrilled that you are here with us on the Tourism Hub podcast, a recording that is streamed live across all of the channels today. And thank you and welcome to our Global Ballooning Australia friends that are joining us here live on the show as well. Well, it is a podcast that is brought to you by Institute of Excellence to ignite excellence within you and the wonderful tourism industry, an industry that is set for recovery at the moment, as is also set for recovery, a business that is very, very close to my heart and absolutely embedded in my DNA, as well as the guests that we will share and many others that we affectionately call the humans of global that are also a part of the Global Ballooning team and extended family. I am deeply humbled that my guests have accepted today to come on this episode around the theme of pursuing passion projects and innovating through a crisis. So when we're speaking about innovating and an opportunity or arising through difficult times and challenging times. And we've spoken to a lot of guests on the podcast about how we're pirouetting through a crisis, use the P word, we're pivoting and doing different things and creating and thinking creatively beyond what we do to survive and to go to stay, sustainable ways that our businesses can keep on keeping on. Now, the passion project that we are going to talk about today is centered around the flying love letter over Melbourne. Many of you that have joined us may have come across this. This may be the first time you're hearing about this. And if it is the first time, just brace yourself. It is an extraordinary and something like this has never been done before. So I'd really love for you to understand and engage and come on and join us live on the show. If you're watching the recording, please keep pinging us in the comments. This is the cause and this is the passion project that we're talking about. mycause.com.au/love Melbourne. The mission about the Love Melbourne and the flying love letter over Melbourne is to have 5,000 of your names printed and be part of this historical moment of building a balloon to fly over Melbourne by the people of Melbourne. So it's something that is initiated by the team at Global Ballooning, but it's certainly something that the team that you're going to meet behind this, Kif and Pato, really want this to be beyond global and beyond something that we've seen. It's really for the people of Melbourne that have gone through the hardest times through the COVID crisis when we think about what's just happened. So the launch date of the new balloon to fly is going to be on New Year's Eve 2021. So that's why now we would love your help to get behind this, to make this happen. So the humans of global, the leading humans of global behind this project is the owner of this almost 30-year-old leading Victorian tourism business, Kif Saunders, and his balloonist/adventurer son, who I haven't seen this much of in his adult life because he's normally around flying, sailing, ballooning on incredible adventures around the world, Patterson Saunders. And a little later on, we're going to meet Tanya Burston, the My Course founder behind mycause.com.au. Welcome, everybody. So I just wanted to set the scene of what the theme of this passion project is. I'm so excited to have you all join me this lovely chilly Melbourne Saturday afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us, Tespi.
Thank you, Pato. Now, for everybody that wants to make a donation, $100 donation to put your name and your postcode on the balloon, please feel free to do so during the show, and send us a little comment as you do, and we will. And thank you to Carly there. We've got Carly already saying we can't wait to get back in the air with global ballooning. We can't wait either. So let's get things started. Kif, we spoke back in April, and there's an episode that we have with you on the Tourism Hub podcast. We spent many Saturdays trying to make sense of what was happening with the global ballooning business. And to give some context, even to you, Tanya, I was the CEO of Global Ballooning pre-March, and post-March, things changed significantly. So now I am championing Global from a distance as they see themselves through the recovery phase. So Kif, take us through this second lockdown now. For everyone that wants to hear Kif's insightful thoughts and his background and the history of why he started Global Ballooning, I'd encourage you to go check out the first episode with Kif. But I'd just like you to share, Kif, how has the second lockdown been for the business and for you personally?
Well, I mean, I think along with many other, for the majority of Victorians, it's been, that second lockdown really it took the wind out of our sails. I do feel in the first lockdown, it was a hiatus from business, and there was this very strong sense that like this would be short-lived and we would get back to what we do. And so we took that time to kind of, make a bit of fun of this moment and be resilient, but certainly this ability to kind of set yourself up with this kind of beginning of June start date, and then begin to kind of do all of the planning for your COVID-19 things and the new order. There was a general excitement to getting back to what we love, but to be kind of then thrust back into, an even deeper lockdown situation. I mean, it really, I think it really just highlighted just the magnitude of this situation, and also that really, as an entrepreneur, the ability to make business decisions is now out of my hands. And so for our team, it's certainly detached us. I mean, this one particularly, where we can't have any real contact, has been quite distressing, because it's an extremely long, extended period of time not to have that connection that is really a big part of tourism. I mean, tourism is a part of, being with people all the time and being around people and doing what you love. And so, it's been extremely difficult, and it's a roller coaster in emotions. Obviously, there's days where you're really distressed and wondering where this is going to end and what the future holds, and then there's days of acceptance where you just get on with readjusting your life to a more simple way of existing. And I mean, as a business owner, it's a confidence issue. I think it's a confidence issue in what the new future will hold, and we've just been trying to engage ourselves in what our future looks like, which is in a sense why this project has landed, and we're moving into the phase of doing something while we cannot do what we would normally be doing.
That is a really valid point that you make, that also the challenges, particularly as a team that was so deeply connected, even in the connection of the face-to-face connectivity operationally and from the admin and marketing and office side of the business, then to suddenly, a lot of teams are used to already working remotely, and that business model is how it's set. Certainly that's how we're forced to operate now, but making that transition can have its own challenges when that's not the way you're used to doing business. And that is something now I'm sure a lot of businesses out there that have now kind of set the standard for everybody working remotely would be also questioning, whether that is something that works and we can save on our rent and we can save our expenses, which is also a cause for concern to lose that human connection. So that's a very valid point in the challenges that this has also caused for many businesses. Now, speaking of connectivity, and for our dear Pato, who it is in your young adult life, since you've graduated school, this is the longest time that I've seen you. It's probably the same for your father there. So Kif's son, Pato, that is joining us. Now, give us a glimpse of your incredible ballooning adventures abroad and what's been keeping you busy since now you're kind of having to be forced to not get on a plane and leave somewhere. Just tell us about some of your exciting adventures.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi.
Of course, I do have quite a bohemian sort of lifestyle that I think I've probably inherited from my dad. I am sitting in my own camper van that I'm building so I can escape. Unfortunately, I'm parked in my dad's backyard. I can't get anywhere. I do spend most of my time ballooning in Europe, and also I spend a lot of time on ships, and so that is with expedition tourism. I work in the polar regions as an expedition guide. So funnily enough, for all the amazing ballooning jobs that I've got to do, and I've got to ride on the coattails of some of my father's amazing jobs around the world. I'm very privileged for that. But I do keep the business more or less at an arm's length for most of the time. I spend most of the busy tourist season away on a ship in Antarctica. But I have been lucky to do lots of amazing ballooning sort of expeditions and competitions around the world, and there's such an amazing community amongst ballooning and also polar tourism, and I guess just tourism in general, where I think that we do tend to get a real emotional connection in providing our product, particularly when I'm working on the ships, that feeling that you get, that you can bring joy to other people is sort of what a lot of guides do that job for. So I think that, going back to what Kif was saying, there is a lot of purpose lost when we can't sort of connect with people and provide that sort of stuff. I agree with him on that. I think it's hard for a whole tourism industry and family to deal with this on a lot of levels, even just the basic connection that you do get with people. But yeah, I'm stuck here for now. I'm excited to hopefully get off at some point soon and get back to joining those other families I have around the place.
Well, what I've loved is kind of in terms of having a deeper connection with seeing how you have been able to embrace this project and take it on board, that it's given you a deeper connection to global, where that's something as a balloonist, or working with you and seeing you become engaged in a global ballooning project, that's been another real positive when we say, a project like this to connect the team, but also as someone that has been born into this business, literally, to have a new purpose to kind of, and I see that, I might be wrong, you can correct me if that's the case, but I see you seeing a bigger picture for what it is that, Papa Bear has really done over these last 3 decades, which is really pleasing, because I think there are a lot of businesses that have the same kind of intergenerational business and family businesses that connection hasn't always quite been there. But I've loved that through this project that has also brought you into a global project that, even that I can interact with you.
Yeah, no, it is. It's been very nice on that big picture scale. Also, just on a sort of more somber note, on the smaller picture, without making Dad seem like too much of a, like too much of a sort of little, saddie. We've had to sort of watch each other and watch him in distress, and no one wants to watch anyone, let alone your family members that have worked hard on something for 30 years, be in distress and have to deal with that. And so, yeah, of course, I want to help him out, and I want to be a part of that. And that's really what's driven me to be a part of this. And then that's brought along a whole bunch of enthusiasm that I think we've all been allowed to sort of harness.
Oh, look, personally, and someone that now, and it's killing me, that's watching it from a distance, that is giving me how this thing flies. And, we definitely, we want to, and for everyone, thank you to Elope Australia and to Carly for joining us and your comments. That is one of the key things that bring, when you say like this, that it hasn't been good on, it hasn't been good to see people emotional health, and people like KIF and the team and many other tourism businesses that are in distress, that this is something that is uplifting for all involved. Now, dear KIF, now speaking of your entrepreneurial spirit, and this has been the challenges, it's not only isolation, it's been shackles on the feet and hands, like for someone that's very entrepreneurial and on the go. And the whole reason why I was in the business was for you to set sail on your own adventures with Pato and Eddie and your beautiful daughter Scarlett this year. Tell us about the entrepreneurial seizure, the moment that you had of coming up with this project, that here's something that we can all do together that doesn't involve the COVID, I guess, that this is something that we can do, and we can innovate and we can build together. Can you share with us that moment of aha that you had with us?
Well, yeah, thanks, Despy. I mean, I've always found in my life that the fact that I'm an adventurer and people see me as a gregarious, out there type of guy, I'm actually quite conservative, and I'm very stable. I do stick at things, and obviously having something like this come along, I have found in my life that shifts in my thinking always occur during catastrophic times or catastrophic situations. It does make you have to think. This is a situation not of our making. It has been placed on us, and as Pato said, it has been really quite distressing for me, the sense of loss associated with all of that hard work. And it's kind of, yes, there's those who will sit and crumble, or will be very badly affected by this, and there's those who will stand up and look for the opportunities that exist within the disaster. And for us, for me, it's always been a case of, like, when I am in this kind of fight or flight situation, I become very peripheral in my views, because you are looking for what can you be doing? Because I'm like a shark. I can't, if I stop moving, I will die. And certainly one of the cornerstones of global ballooning, as you well know, Despy, is our connection with community. I really love ballooning. I'm an adventurer. I'm a balloonist, and I'm I sold my soul to the sky the first time I got my flying license at the age of 15. And I basically unchained my shackles to this earth to get up. So I really love this medium, and it's what it defines me. And this concept of associating that back to community, where ballooning is something of childhood dreams and inspirational and makes people happy, is just, how can I do something? Because one of the things about me as a businessman is that I do what I do because I love it, not because there's a financial reward. That is a kind of more what defines our success. But yeah, to be able to get involved in a community program that is associated around a really strong message and speaks to the places that I love, really means a lot to me, because we do a lot of, we can have, we've got 34 balloons. Most of them have corporate branding on them. But in a situation like this, it's really important to me to speak to the community, because that means everything to me, is that we are in this together as a community. And so, it was like, why don't we do something that is a flagship that actually will, show our strength, our unity as a community. And so, the idea was kind of born out of doing something. Let's do something for us as a team to kind of get ourselves around while we're dormant and uninspired about being able to get out there and do our adventure. Let's create something that will be quite beautiful in its sentiment, not necessarily just as a visual image, but as a sentiment to where we stand, that we stand together, which is really important in these times of hardship, that we do stand together. And so, I'm really keen to have something that is just, it's not owned by me, but it's owned by everyone, and that the names on these balloons become like a Lovelock bridge, you'll just be a part of something that is, we stand here together strong and resilient, and we will come through this period together as a means of supporting each other.
What is, can you take us through exactly what this will look like, and the vision, and how people can get involved? Take us through the process of making your mark and having this Lovelock concept on a balloon. Can you talk to that, Kif? Just give people a clear picture of what it is that we are really asking for people to get on board with. And Glenn, if you could bring up the page of the love letter page on the My Cause, it will be amazing.
So the whole concept for us is basically that the more names we have and messages, the more we can go to design work with this love letter. The whole idea is that we are branding it around a message of we are Melbourne, and this speaks to the people not only who live in Melbourne, but the people who love Melbourne, who love this city, or are empathetic about what this city has had to go through for the past 7 months. To speak there, to kind of, it's kind of like people who want to get a tattoo but too afraid, it's just get your name on something that you will know that you have been a part of, because Tourism Australia and Visit Victoria, Melbourne City Council are behind this. The imagery of this balloon will be used in marketing this city, as our company has done for the past 20 years as a flagship of the lifestyle of this city. But the whole idea is, if we can get to a minimum of 1,000 names, we can build a balloon. Just names and postcodes. But if people want to write messages, we are going to go to work with our creative design team to kind of almost, if you can imagine a Van Gogh painting, which is all these long stroke things forming an image, we want to use these names to kind of graphically design, almost like a dot art painting, around this message of we are Melbourne, to create something that is of artistic beauty. And really,
mind if I jump in there, Kif?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because like Kiffy sent me a text the other day when we were looking at the design options, and he sent a picture of Hosier Lane and the street art that you get in Melbourne. And one thing that we have definitely discussed is just trying to embody that street art scene that Melbourne is so famous for as well. With these different little contributions from so many people down the back alleyways. That's another very interesting concept that we can sort of make a balloon that flies and embodies that same sort of vibe.
And the whole thing is that this is Melbourne. I mean, it's a sophisticated, culturally diverse city with a really good vibe in music, in food, in culture. I mean, this is what we love about this city and we want to capture that spirit on this balloon in how we go to design work and the message we do. And I think it's Stanley Kubrick who does those naked photos of people lying in the streets. You don't necessarily know you're there, but you're there, in that photo, and to be a part of that is really something special, because this will become a piece of history. I mean, it will be photographed, it will be used, it will form part of this time for anyone who contributes to the message. And we just really encourage people, for $100, tag our balloon, like Hosier Lane or anything, tag it, and you'll be a part of something that, will be a really great story as we move towards recovery and rejuvenation, similar to a new leaf after a bushfire, that new growth. And that's all we want. We don't need another balloon in our company, but it will give me great pride to fly this flagship for Melbourne.
Now, this is, and first I just want to give a shout out to V. She's made a donation. Thank you, V. We said if you make a donation during the show, we'll give you a big shout out. So thank you, V. You are a legend, and we'll keep that link up for anyone else that would like to join the flying love letter over Melbourne and to make your mark with a tag. And it's as it keeps coming into fruition, and every time I hear Pato and Kif talk about it, it gets me just that little bit more excited. Now, Pato, it has been delightful, as I mentioned earlier, to see you take the reins and really get behind. You've been really the leading marketer through this. In what has this not only we have a sense that this has really been a great project for you to get behind. The platform to use this. Now, I remember in the beginning, we were like, should we build our own page, our landing page on our website? Which, should we go GoFundMe? Then there's the Facebook advertising, but kind of like not loving, although, I mean, I love you, Facebook. I love you. I should say that. We are streaming live on Facebook. But, we've had a bit of a funky time, let's say that, over the last little while. But then you dropped the mic on my cause. So I get a phone call from the boys, and they're like, we found a local company and they're based in Caulfield, and we're going to meet the founder behind my cause. But tell me about that. How did you go about, that journey of coming to my cause and really working through that decision of how we're going to build, which platform are we going to do this on?
Well, I'm happy that you could embrace that stressful little period there. That was probably the most tempestuous stage of the launch and building the project, was choosing which platform. And I guess in normal life, we're quite used to hearing about GoFundMe and about Kickstarter and Facebook. We're exposed to them a lot, and so at first glance, it was fairly simple that we had to choose one of them, and of course that's where we started. But there is a lot of limitations on those sites. They're quite simple. They're a lot less intuitive, and so what I wanted to do was to just build my own website. I think they teach you how to build a website in high school, and so I was like, oh my gosh, we've got to just go start from scratch and build one. And I'd love to take all the credit for discovering my cause, but there is a little skeleton team of us that have been working on this, including a little marketing team from Global Ballooning. So there was Kif, Kate, Mandy, Danielle, Erin. There is the team of people at Global that are just really excited about this, and it definitely wasn't me that found my cause to start with, but the moment that we found out that there was a local business that could offer something like this, Kif was like, oh, let's just call them and ask them. And that's amazing that we could just suddenly call someone in Caulfield, and a fella called Adam picked up the phone, and suddenly, all our options were there. And not only did they have a really intuitive sort of website that they had available, they also could support us in building it. And suddenly, the floodgates opened, and we could actually start to make something that suited our campaign. And like, I am a millennial, so I was stuck with doing the boffin side of it, but I had a team of people at My Cause that could also A, make sure that I didn't break it, and B, like, offer ideas and also share like a bit of excitement around it. And there's no way that we could have got that same sort of service. There's no way we would have had such an attractive page if we had gone with any other platform. It was a huge relief. So I thank Adam and Nikki, and of course Tanya for helping us with that. But I'd love to take the credit, but there's also a little skeleton team of us behind Kif and I that have been very much invested in this, just as much as we have. But yeah, the platform, it was a no-brainer once we were on the phone with them.
And the no-brainer, and this is why it takes this to a whole other level of, what's intrinsic in the global ballooning spirit is collaboration and local partnerships. And that's why this, like, having also this project come to life with another founding partner of a crowd, that's doing a lot of good in the world, and creating that platform for not only the Flying Love Letter of Melbourne, but for many other initiatives, is My Cause, mycause.com.au. And we are very, very lucky and fortunate to have the My Cause founder and managing director, Tanya Burston, here. You can see her lovely smiling face. I'm so excited. I have stalked you quite heavily, and the more I read and the more I listened and the more I saw, I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I'm seeing her tomorrow. So she's not only the founder and the MD of Australia's award-winning cause funding platform, she's also an entrepreneur in her own right, and introducing online fundraising to Australia back in 2009, before the term crowdfunding was even a thing. So professional and passionate about technology and its application for the not-for-profit sector. She's an award-winning Telstra Women in Business. And Tanya, if we can beam you back in, I would just love to, before we speak about the Love Letter of Melbourne, I would just love it to welcome you formally. Thank you so much for being here. The ideas are popping off even as we're speaking, which is so cool. What was your calling to start mycause.com.au? What was your aha moment and your entrepreneurial seizure that this was something we needed in Australia?
Well, I was volunteering at a fundraising event, and found it really hard to collect money and share online and ask for donations online. So I decided to just start that online fundraising. It didn't exist in Australia yet. So we were the first to do any kind of online fundraising in Australia when we launched in 2009. And at first we only did online fundraising for charity, but then a few years later we moved into personal cause fundraising as well. So similar to GoFundMe, but we were doing that here before then.
I love that. We were here first. Yeah. Now, I listened to an excellent podcast where you featured on recently, where you joined Lee Matthews, the podcast, for anybody that's listening, I would highly recommend you go and download The Good Problem. And I loved so much about what you shared about the reasons why Aussies should actually look to a local GoFundMe, because there are, just like there are other balloon companies who we also love, there are other platforms that also do the same, that you can have fundraising initiatives. Can you speak to that for anybody has their own passion project and looking at other global platforms? What are some key differences that people might not know about to choose a platform like My Cause instead?
interesting, isn't it? Because when you do a lot of things, like even the Victorian government at the moment is advertising to buy local and, you know, get regional goods shipped over. But sometimes when you go online, you don't actually think about looking for local, because you just think online is everywhere and you don't necessarily think I should buy local. So it's probably not people's first thought. But I think buying local is important. Well, for the reasons it's important with other goods and services, an online company is the same as any other company. We employ people here. Particularly, we're employing people in Melbourne who are in lockdown, some of whom are working from home even. So, you know, that's jobs and people in Melbourne and in Australia. And, you know, supporting the local economy, supporting the local tech economy particularly. And as Pato mentioned, you can call us. We answer the phone. And a lot of overseas organisations don't and can't answer the phone, and you don't get that sort of personalised service. So if it's important to you to support Australian businesses and Australian startups as well, then perhaps do a little bit more research to see where you're coming from. I did that today myself, in fact, when I was buying something online. I realised that I was about to buy it from an American company, because it can be a bit confusing when you're on a big platform, you know, one of those big marketplaces sort of platforms. And I thought, no, I'm going to get it from Australia. Firstly, I didn't want it to ship all those miles anyway. And secondly, I want to support local.
That is an excellent point. And even in this initiative together, it's not that the platform is Aussie, Melbourne made, not just Australian made. It's Melbourne made, just as is Global Ballooning. And the contribution of the $100 on making your mark on a balloon, it does being, and I think that is definitely something for many people, that it's not a top of mind going through this pandemic and having what's happened unfold, that now we will make these decisions. We will make these decisions and be more aware of where we are putting our hard-earned dollars into, and knowing that that is going to also contribute to another human of Melbourne and wider to that, Aussie. Now, when you... So 2009, I mean, I remember Facebook was just kind of coming on the scene even then. So we didn't even know what social media really was. Even that term for business and the implications of that. And when I saw that My Cause really was born in 2009, I'm curious how you've seen the shift in having social media and the impact of social media to create, you know, give causes and fundraising opportunities and passion projects like this more visibility. How have you seen that shift from starting and helping individuals, companies and not-for-profits raise their money and reach their goals, and how that has translated as social media has really become what it is today? Can you speak to that a little bit, about your experience and that impact?
When you're sharing a campaign, of course, nowadays you're sharing it on social media and by email and on you know, different platforms like this podcast and so forth. Back in the day, it was more heavily weighted to sharing by email. But much like our lovely clients, Global Ballooning, we're caught up in the need to be advertising all over social media and search. So, you know, search on Google, search on Facebook. So we've got two things going on. One is we're promoting our business on those networks, being, you know, mainly Google and the Facebook networks, which so obviously we're paying them a lot of money. Like you said before, we love you, but we don't. And but similarly, all of our clients that use our platform, because really we're just the engine. It's not about us. This is about Love Letter to Melbourne. It's about all of our other beautiful causes on the platform. They're all using social media in general to share. You're sharing your project or your cause where your people are, where your network is, where your supporters are. So where you live. Where do you live? Do you live on Instagram? Do you live on Facebook? Do you live on Twitter? Wherever you live, that's where you need to be sharing your cause to bring people together. And then, of course, when you've got a fantastic global or national project like this one, you want to be even broader, and then using other forms of media for people, so people can access it that don't necessarily have social media.
That is something really, really interesting. Did you like the synergy between My Cause and when Pato did discover Adam and the team there, Kif? What was that like for you, knowing that you'll be collaborating with a Melbourne business? I'm sure that gave you much more joy and enthusiasm in the project when you knew it was going to be with a local partner.
Well, I mean, that was the interesting call. I actually made the first call to Adam, and I'm the last person, as you know, Despy, to have any conversation about online marketing. But I mean, we were just desperate to kind of get somewhere where we could actually host all of the vibrancy, because obviously this concept is three-dimensional. It's very hard just to put up we need money and it just be an image and that's it, So like, I mean, it was funny because I rang and Adam answered the phone, and I wanted to just say, and Tanya, just to give your Adam and the guys a bit of a tick is that Global Ballooning is a business that really, and Despy is a master of this, it revolves around business culture. It's the first impression that you make. And to ring up Adam and kind of say, Adam, we want to be able to do this project and this, but just their response in all of this of just like, we can do everything to help you. We'll be there to support you. Yes, yes, yes. Just that whole kind of thing. And then he goes, and I didn't even know this at the time. I didn't know where I was ringing. I didn't realize it was he goes, and we are in lockdown, We're in the middle of Melbourne, and we know exactly where you are because we are doing this. And I mean, I nearly fell off my chair because, we just had these 2 days of arguments about our funding platform, and all of a sudden, and I just love the concept that, for us, it is the microcosm, and I totally agree with you, is that if you're not protecting or supporting the businesses that are really passion-driven, really good at what they do, and local, I mean, we do turn to a supermarket mentality. So obviously, the whole brand, Google, Facebook, GoFundMe, they can own the space just through their whole ability to have traction. But certainly for us to discover a local business like My Cause, who really can provide a much higher level of service, is really important, particularly for me, who was extremely reticent and nervous about even going into the funding, campaign. As a business person, we're not used to asking for help. I just wanted to give you a lot of kudos for how your company represents itself, because certainly that's exactly, we love to partner with people who think in exactly the same manner as we do. Anyway.
Absolutely. And that is I guess that's what makes for the cause of this project. And you've touched on that. This is a little slightly different to a not-for-profit. This is a for-purpose exercise. It is something like, we are building a balloon. It will be used commercially, but it is cause-driven. Do you have is there a space for more businesses as they're thinking of their own way out, and maybe they've got their own passion project bubbling up inside them to use a platform when, the funds are low and there's no building of a new website that could draw on that same experience or maybe inspired by this?
Yeah, look, we've helped a lot of small business, particularly during the pandemic. And interestingly, a couple of campaigns have been set up by customers or clients of those businesses. A couple of entertainment venues have had really great fundraising campaigns. A couple of barber shops, like your Brunswick Barber, where the local community really wanted to support the business and keep them up and running. We had a couple of campaigns like that, a couple of restaurants as well. So, there's definitely room for those sort of projects. We help quite a broad range of people, apart from charities, which is most of our work, and personal causes. We also do political fundraising and other things as well, but this is much more fun than politics.
I love that. I mean, so for anyone listening, if you see a business that you love, to get behind them, like we can see even through the stream of comments that we're seeing, there's, balloons over the city skyline is something that that would not be a good outcome, to not be waking up and seeing the sunrise without that silhouette of a balloon gracing the city skies, and to be getting behind a business that you love like that. How incredible is that? That would be for businesses that their customers are doing this as well. And this is an opportunity, particularly for our ballooning community, to have a vehicle to do the same, and make that contribution. So if there's any questions, comments from anybody that is joining us, please feed them through. Otherwise, I'll start to wrap this up with an excellence round for all of here we go. I love this. Look what Wendy has shared from a contributor's perspective. Yeah, let's give Wendy. She's made her mark on the balloon. A little clap for Wendy. Thank you, Wendy. She's also giving that it was extremely easy to navigate, which is so important. And that is why it was frantic in the early days, because to build something like this, although it's easy to navigate, it is that takes some time of investment and research for that user experience to develop. So that is thank you for sharing that, Wendy. I'm just putting my digital Desi hat on now for you, Tanya. How important is it also for businesses to be building their own relationships and maintaining that connection through an email database? So where you first started and you were building you were doing a lot through email campaigns. I think now what we've lost here is that having a lot of our communities on social media, we don't own those relationships. Is that something that you encourage your clients to do as part of the campaign mix?
We have quite a bit of experience in this field. Certainly email is still a really strong channel, but of course a lot of people tend to unsubscribe and so forth, plus they get a lot of emails. So the other thing is to have a really strong presence on social media channels. And then the third thing is to be remarketing. Remarketing means picking up the cookies of people that arrive to your website, which is almost as good as having their email. It's like their digital signature. And then you can market to them in other channels, such as social media channels. So I visit your website to see what time the balloons are flying, and then I receive an ad for you. I'm sure these guys are all over this already, but I receive an ad inside my social media or in my Gmail or so on. So unfortunately, we're always paying these massive companies to do all of this marketing, but I personally can't see any choice in the matter.
Yes. Well, look, when it comes to getting in front of people that don't, because we build communities and ambassadors for our brands, but then there's also these opportunities that we can get in front of people that may not have heard. And then if it's too late, so I would have loved to get involved in that, but I didn't have I missed it. I just, when that happens to you, you go, how did I miss that event? Or how did I not know that happened? So we're doing this to do our best to reach as many people as we can. And what we've just kind of developed as we're going, the hashtag. If you have made a contribution, if you're loving what you're hearing, follow Global Ballooning Australia on Instagram, on Facebook, if you're not already there. But also the hashtag that is uniting us is the hashtag Flying Love Letter. So if you use that, particularly on Instagram, is it, Tanya? We're talking now. If we use that hashtag on Instagram, you'll pull that onto the page.
Yeah, we'll get that done for you. So if you post a photo to Insta of your favourite Love Melbourne moment and use the hashtag Flying Love Letter, we'll pull that into the landing page where you'll be able to see your Instagram pics and also have an opportunity to be part of the Love Letter to Melbourne if you want to as well. So I reckon get your Loving Melbourne pics up. Even if it's a grey pic, we know we can do beautiful grey pics. We're good at that.
See, if the humans of global, the army's talking, this is what happens when you get in a room of the entrepreneurial DNA spirit. This is all that just unfolded as we're having the conversation. Drop the mic, Tanya. That's boom. Your favorite Melbourne moment. Hashtag flying love letter, and you're part of the stream. But don't forget, $100 to make your mark. That's your little tag on Hosier Lane, but in a flying, on a flying billboard over the city. Okay, excellence round. I'm going to start with you, dear Tanya. When it started to launching your business, was there anything that was holding you back in the beginning?
You mean apart from money and time? Look, no, not really, because I very, very luckily had a massive dose of naivety. I didn't really know what I was getting into at that time. The word startup didn't even exist in Australia then, hardly. So I didn't really know I was doing that. All I was doing, I thought, was problem solving. So had I known then what I know now, I don't know that I would have embarked on it. But it's been a really, really fun journey. So I reckon anyone else thinking of starting anything, my advice is jump in.
Jump in. Hashtag jump in. Love it. Kif, the best advice you've ever had?
The best advice I ever had, probably from my grandfather, which is it's a bad day when you don't learn something.
Love it. And haven't we learned a lot today? So today's been a good day. I feel good. I'm in my ISO. This has been fantastic. It's a bad day if you haven't learned something, and jump in. Pato, share with us a personal habit that has contributed to your success so far in your young life, that you've been able to do so much.
I think that anyone that does know me knows that I've definitely got a bit of ADD that I just can't stop moving, and so I think my personal habit would just be pacing around. I'm also quite loud, and so perhaps that's helped me get this message out to a fair reach of people so far. So I guess I'm loud and I move a lot. Is that a personal habit? I don't know.
It's a personal habit. Well, I think I might know where that came from. But it certainly it's worked for the guy to your right. I think it's going to serve you well as well, my dear Pato. So Tanya, for you, what's an internet resource that you love that helps you on the daily? And particularly, you probably had more of a heads up in working remotely. What's something when you're working on different projects with your team, what's a resource that you couldn't live without, that keeps you yourself personally, or anything else that keeps your team in check and working to, all working well?
That's so important now when everyone's working remotely, isn't it? So we're very big users of Slack, the messaging app, and we wouldn't send an email internally hardly ever. We use Slack messaging app, and we use the Atlassian tools, even developed by an Australian, in fact, of course, Mike Cannon-Brooks and his team. We use those Atlassian tools for our whole web development section of the business as well.
Well, Atlassian is something that I learned from you share on the other podcast too. And I love what you shared. And that's something we'll save it for another time. We might have to bring you back. I love that. It just dropped a curious thought, like advocacy and philanthropy. Like what distincts the two from one another. But Atlassian and this gentleman is someone that you admire, and another Aussie business that sounds like is led by someone that's doing extraordinary things. So something for all of us to share. An avid reader. Now, you shared something earlier, a book to share with our listeners. For someone, for Kif, I'll directly to you. Is there a book that you're reading at the moment, or something that's got you, inspired that you can share with us?
Oh, look, I am reading a book called, it's hard work, but it's called Thinking Fast and Slow, which is also kind of the understanding of how we kind of somehow believe that the information that we're being fed is correct, rather than kind of an intuitive thinking. look, I mean, I'd have two books that I'd recommend in my kind of journey through life. One is a really short book by Richard Bach called Illusions, which is kind of about a barnstormer, and you've got to just read it. The other one is a little fantastic book that was written by a mate of mine who, was very passionate in the tourism industry, and it's called Adventures of a Balloon Girl. Which
Thanks, Skipper. Look, well done. That is, yes. Nice one. Adventures of a Balloon Girl, the OG. Tanya, do you have any books that have inspired your journey?
I don't think they'd be very interesting for anybody else. They're all around fundraising. So, all of those quite a few of those industry books have been really interesting for me. But I usually read to relax. And I'm quite into Kirsta Sittenfeld at the moment. And I've really enjoyed her book, Rodham, lately.
Rodham. We'll check that one out. How about you, Pato?
Rodham Clinton.
Beautiful.
Sorry. I think my books are quite niche as well, because I tend to read, historical accounts of polar exploration on the Antarctic Peninsula and going towards the North Pole. I guess the one bit of literature that does stick with me, though, was told by an old Cambridge historian that was a prisoner of war in the bloody Falklands War in the 80s, and it was Ulysses by Alfred Lord Tennyson, which I'm getting close to reciting by heart, which is very old school, but I do like that. I do like the romance of poetry and how it can sort of influence us even today. Hopefully, I don't sound too nerdy from that.
No, you don't. You sound wonderful. You just took me somewhere else. Then I was just like, tell me more. Beautiful. Yeah. Well, what I'd like to end with all our guests, this is a tourism-inspired podcast, is your ultimate holiday and where you are going to go first as soon as you can. Now, speaking of the romantic one, I know where Pato is going to go first as soon as he can. But what's your ultimate idea of a great holiday and tourist destination, Pato?
Well, right now, it would be anywhere where I can reunite with my girlfriend. She's over in France in the army, so I don't care whether it's in Paris or in Bali or in the bloody, in the back streets of, Melbourne or even Sydney. I don't care if it's Sydney. Just as long as I could go and see her. Haven't seen her since February, so I miss you, Lily.
Oh, Lily, we love Lily. How about you, Tanya? What's your favorite destination, and where are you looking forward to getting to?
Well, isn't that funny? We had to cancel a trip, as did everybody, of course. And so I was dreaming about going overseas, and I was like, no, I'm just dreaming about going to Queensland. And then I was like, I'm just actually dreaming about going to Brunswick Street.
Yeah.
More than 5K away. But next trip is cycling in Slovenia.
Wow. There we go. You've met your people. You've connected. We've got deep roots in Slovenia, and hello to Gregor.
We love Slovenia.
We love Slovenia. Yeah. There's ballooning in Slovenia, so you're going to do cycling and ballooning now. You can't unballoon yourself now, Tanya. You're in our world.
No, absolutely. And 2 Slovenians won first and second in the Tour de France, and an Australian came third, of course.
Wow.
Richie Porte.
There you go. And the Kiffmeister, you're the first place that you can't wait to visit as soon as you can.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you should say that, because of all the countries in the world, I mean, I am supposed to be in Slovenia right now in my hydrogen balloon that I bought last year. I had handed over my company to Despina to go off on and do a life of adventure for 6 months. And so, I now have a hydrogen balloon, a vehicle, a trailer, basket, everything ready for me waiting in Slovenia to go. And I'm pretty desperate to get back there. But at this point in time, look, to be honest, I love the Yarra Valley more than anything. It is a really big part of my life. I'm very happy to be at home with my family, and if I could just be getting back to getting in the sky and doing what I do, I think that would be enough right now. But certainly, at some stage, I really want to go and continue on with my hydrogen ballooning adventures across Europe.
Thank you so much, Tanya Burston. mycause.com.au, Kif Saunders, Patterson Saunders, globalballooning.com.au. So it's not just, and My Cause, if we bring that up, Flying Love Letter, share your favorite Melbourne moments and use the hashtag Flying Love Letter. Please go and check out mycause.com.au and look for the love letter to Melbourne. For as little as $100, you can make your mark and be part of something truly special to start the year in 2021, or even getting a balloon yourself if it's something that's been on your wish list for a long time. If there's anything lockdown does for you is accelerate getting those things ticked off, isn't it? Come and join us on a flight over Melbourne or the beautiful Yarra Valley. And there is our beautiful, this is really the OG. This is the OG right here, Scarlett Saunders, the original balloon girl from Scarlett. Thank you, Scarlett, which is the baby of the Saunders family. So happy you joined us. So without further ado, thank you all for your time. Thank you all for your insights. And I hope everybody was inspired as much as I was listening to another episode of the Tourism Hub podcast. Until next time, my friends, big love and be excellent today and every single day. You've got this and we've got this. Thanks again for joining us on the Tourism Hub podcast. If you found this podcast valuable, it will mean the world to give us a review on Apple iTunes. We're also live here every Saturday at 2 p.m. across all the Institute of Excellence Facebook and YouTube channels. And you are all invited. Be excellent, and don't forget we also have courses available at instituteofexcellence.com to help you and your small business greatness.